Wanted to make a quick video real quick just to show how I made a couple of Cleveland Indian signs and a National University sign, as well as a dog sign for my daughter, and a Cleveland Indians desk from scratch. I actually did the Chief Wahoo head first, but I want to go over this one first. I did this one second actually, but I'm a big Cleveland Indians fan, have been for a long time. Been to the Cleveland Municipal Stadium, the old stadium, several times, both at night and during the day. At the top of the stadium they have this image with Cleveland Indians below it. I just made the Chief Wahoo and not the sign itself, where it says Cleveland Indians. I may do that later and just put it on the bottom going across. But what I did was, to make these, I took a picture off the internet, which you can find these on the internet, and blew it up to a 8.5 by 11, and printed it out on a transparency film and put it on overhead projector. And then I projected that image onto a 2 foot by 4 foot piece of plywood, and you probably can't see that real well, but it's on there. And what I did was I just traced it out with my pencil, and when I was done I took it off there and cleaned up all the edges that needed to be straight. If they weren't straight, I made them straight and just straightened up all the edges, made it look real good, and compared it to a printout that I had of Chief Wahoo. And then I basically started, I cut it out after that, and then there you can see I just basically started with the blue. And what I did was I created my own paint by numbers picture is what I did, drawing everything out and just painting the blue first, and I think I did the white next, and then I did the red after that, and then I did the bat. The bat was a little challenging. I just basically did a antique white, which is real close to the original. And here's the sign, and it was actually on top of Cleveland Municipal Stadium above Gate D. And again, I just did the Chief Wahoo, but I may do this second part here later and as a second sign and just put that below it. But Cleveland Indians Stadium was built in 1931. It was knocked down in 1996. They actually put this sign up in the 60s, I think 67, but I'm not sure. But they put that up in the 60s, and where it remained until they knocked the building down. They actually took this down, and it's in a museum right now. They refurbished it, and I'm glad they didn't trash it. It's just it's sitting in a museum so anybody can see it. And you can see where it actually was. I got a model here, and right there is where it resided above Gate D. The outfield stands are right here, and then obviously home plate, there's the diamond, but you can kind of see where it was. And then my first image that I did, the sign that I did, was the Chief Wahoo, and again printed it out on transparency film, drew it out. Then I cut it out with my jigsaw, and then I started with the white actually, and then I started doing the red, and then just finished up doing all the colors. Just paint by numbers, basically what it is. And on the back of these I basically, put a piece of wire there, and on this one I actually put that sign just to see where it came from, so I didn't just create this on my own. It is an actual image. Same with the Chief Wahoo. And basically put a piece of wire in there, 2 screws, so I can hang it up on the wall. Painted it in polyurethane, both sides and the edges. And then since I was in sign making mode, I figured, well, I want to do something else. My son is a freshman at National University, so I figured, well, hey, I'll make a National University sign for him. So same thing, I went online, found an image, saved it to my computer, printed it out, 8.5 by 11, both on regular paper and on transparency film. Transparency film, I put it on the overhead projector, and again I drew it out, straightened up all the lines when I was done drawing it out, because the sign tends to move a little bit sometimes when you're pushing on it. But then I started painting it. Hindsight, I probably should have left the wood from there to there and made that white, just like that is, and like behind the U. And the lights in here are kind of yellow, so the white may look a little bit yellow, but I assure you it's not yellow. It is white and the accurate colors. And I basically put a wire and 2 screws behind it, found the center line, and polyurethane both sides, front and back, and hung it up. My daughter has a dog, a Great Dane, and she wanted something too, so basically I made this, and this I didn't paint. I never would have got that right. I'm not a artist by any means. So what I did was I printed out a picture, laminated it, cut it out, and traced it, and put it on the back of a piece of wood, and painted it all black, and just mounted it, and then put a mounting block right there so it sits up by itself. So you can see these signs. This one, Chief Wahoo in the batting stance, is nearly 40 inches long, and it's about 2 feet at this widest spot. So same with this. This is a 2x2. Here is the paint that I use. It's just craft paint, and this was from Walmart. These are 95 cents each. Got a paper plate here that I used as my palette, and paint brushes from, again, Walmart. Paint 95 cents each. This was like $4 or $5 for a whole bunch of brushes. The 4x4 wood, 2x4 wood, 1/4 inch thick, was like $12, and the 2x2 wood that's 1/2 inch was like $6 or $8. And the reason why I went thicker on this is because the cuts were a lot easier, a lot smoother. With this one, I had to get in real sharp places, and it was very intricate cutting, and the cleats. So I wanted a little bit thinner wood so I could cut it a little bit easier. So I did that. Here is the jigsaw that I use. I got a Porter cable jigsaw with a pretty fine blade so I can get into the tight areas. The one last thing I wanted to show was how I made a Cleveland Indians desk out of scratch, and here it is. And I'll bring the image over here. Hopefully you can see it. It's not washed out by the lights. But what I did was, I'll show the pictures here quick. I took a bunch of scrap wood that I had, laid it all together, and then I strapped it from behind. It's all glued and everything, but every seam has either a 1x4 or something behind it, so it's held together real tightly. And then I basically drew out my cut that I wanted to make, which is this cut right here along the edge, along the front. And then I added the top here, and this was supposed to simulate the stands of the stadium. It's at an angle. I cut it at an angle, and you can kind of see how it's cut at an angle, and then the top goes on it. So I did that, and then there's a completed image, and it is height adjustable. There's a bolt right there, a 4x4 post, and it goes up and down with that. You move it up, you can put a new bolt in, or put the same bolt in a different hole, and it'd be a little bit taller. Right now it's at about standing height, about bar height, and you can see I got a bar stool in the picture behind it that I just set up to. You can slam it all the way down, and it's a regular height, 28-29 inches, which is regular desk height. And basically what I did was create the Chief Wahoo the same way I did the dog picture. Printed it out, laminated it, trimmed it out, cut it out, and then put a piece of wood behind it. The bats on the side, I added those later, and the bats I actually created from a fan blade that I had. I had an old ceiling fan. I just kept the blades. I had 5 of them, so I just cut out the baseball bats out of the fan blades, drew it up by hand, cut it out with a jigsaw, and finished it up with a belt sander. So that's kind of what I did there, and also with that Chief Wahoo there, printed out, laminated it, put it on a piece of wood. Hardest part was the bottom where it's all jagged right there where the shirt's supposed to be ripped. I cut all that out with a jigsaw. And here's the overhead projector that I use, just a 3M overhead projector. It's an old one. My dad actually got this a long time ago when he was working. He's been retired for 10 years, so it's at least 10 years. So he bought this from work. They were getting rid of a bunch of AV equipment, and I think he bought that for like 10 or 15 bucks. They were just looking to get rid of some of their old AV stuff. So I added the rope lights and just kind of brighten it up, and it actually, I ran it underneath as well, so it kind of lights up underneath. And I just took pictures of the stands to put underneath there, so you sit at it, and it makes you feel like you're inside the ballpark. I couldn't find a real good, panoramic shot of the inside of the stand, so I just used the same image over and over again. It looks a little hokey, but it works. I mean, kind of goes to the effect of what I was going for. And then the same with the scoreboard. I just put that right there. That's the outfield scoreboard. If you're sitting at the desk, you can look at it. And both sides. So that's pretty much it. You can see the sign. I made that picture right there. And I was at the last season of the Cleveland Municipal Stadium. Right there's my banner that I bought while I was there last season, 1993. Again, that stadium was torn down in 96. And there's a picture of the old stadium. And that Chief Wahoo right there. October 3rd, 1993. And then they went to the new field, which at that time was called Jacobs Field. Right there. You might not, hopefully glare isn't too bad. First game was April 4th, 1994. Jacobs Field is now called Progressive Field. But that's pretty much it. You can see I was also used to work for a plastics company when I didn't live in Ohio. And I did a Major League Baseball logo. And then I was part of the Dodge Viper team for the raw material supplier. So I made a couple Dodge Viper logos and NBA logo. But that's pretty much it. Any questions, feel free to leave comments and I'll answer them if you need to. But I just want to put this out just to show you can do stuff like this. It's just, this was in my head for a long time and I just started building it. I mean, worst comes to worst, it doesn't work and you start over again. But I just started going and this is what it came out to be. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it. All right, bye-bye.